Welcome to Talking with Tom. I'm Tom Dacey alongside Ed McCarver.
Hello, Tommy. How are you? Boy, two shows in 1 week. It's like working full time again.
Special matinee version today.
Yes, we are taping this in the AM hours. I guess it's still officially AM. By the time it airs, it'll be PM. But yeah, this is kind of cool.
And our guest is an old friend of Talking with Tom and no stranger to our audience. Our audience will certainly know him from his work on iHeartRadio and Country 92.5. Please help me welcome my dear friend, John Cadillac Saville.
I love the way you say old friend. Hello there, Mayor Tom. Hey, Ed. Nice to be here.
How are you?
Welcome,
nice
Governor.
Again. It's good to be here. Good to be here.
John, I want to start out by asking you, you evidently were intrigued by broadcasting at an early age. According to your bio, your mom and dad said you would go around the house interviewing with a pencil as your microphone. Do you remember those days?
I remember, and I have a pen right here, the pen right here. And that's so true. They said when I was like 3 or 4 years old, when anyone would come into the house, they would pick me up and put me on the kitchen table or the dining room table, and I would just interview people and just chat with them. And they knew right then and there that I was going to be somehow involved in the radio broadcasting business. And of course, I would love to go in the other room and play my favorite 45s and albums and do my Casey Kasem imitations all the time. And you can appreciate that, guys. I'd have my stack of 45s and I would play the songs in order. And I would say, here's something brand new from Johnny Cash or something brand new from Creedence Clearwater Revival, whoever it may be. And then it just came out, it was written by John Fogerty and blah, blah, blah. And I would just do all that background stuff. And they knew right away, he's destined to be a radio guy.
So you were bit by the bug very, very early, John, I take it.
Yeah, I was, Ed. Ever since I was in high school, actually junior high school, I knew right then and there when people asked me, what do you want to do? When most kids are really not sure, I knew I wanted to be in the radio broadcast business.
Good for you.
You know, it's funny that John should say that because I was the same way at an early age. I always wanted to get into broadcasting. And I don't remember how old I was, but I remember being taken over to WELI and given a tour by that time. I believe it was Bud Finch at that time.
Oh, the legendary Bud Finch. What a class act. Yeah.
Gave me a nice tour of WELI, and through the years, I became friends with a lot of people in the business, yourself included.
Yeah, WELI, a legendary radio station, part of the iHeart umbrella right now. And I remember being an intern at one point when Ron Romer was doing the morning show. The great Ron Romer, a legend, who he actually played with the New Haven Blades hockey team for a while.
Absolutely, yep. I remember.
I do remember him from the Blade games, yeah.
Yeah, but Ron Romer was just an amazing talent, kind of like the Bob Steele of New Haven, and another legend.
Yep, and of course, John, you worked at several stations, including, now Country 92.5, but WPLR, KC 101, WAVZ, and WDRC. How has radio changed through the years?
Well, a lot of people ask me, Tom, do you like radio more now than before? And the simple answer is it's different. So many people will get a little bit sour and say things were a little bit better in the past than they are now, but I would rather just change with the times and just appreciate what I'm blessed with right now. Radio has evolved into more of a business where it's now publicly owned more than privately held radio stations. So I've seen really basically the movement from private to public. When I first got involved in radio back in the dark ages, when it was like at Jurassic Park.
Kind of like Ed.
But like when I was working at WAVZ and KC 101 and WPLR, they were all owned by private entities. But now it's like iHeartRadio is pretty much a major conglomerate, a global conglomerate. But still, I'm enjoying it. They've been really good to me. They're letting me be the personality. They're showing me a lot of respect. So, I'm feeling the same kind of love now that I felt back then. So I'm just thrilled after all these years to still be in the game.
Absolutely. And of course, KC 101 at the time was Cops Moynihan, wasn't it?
Yeah, Cops Moynihan owned KC 101, WAVZ. They were fabulous because you would go to the station when WAVZ at the time was on Temple Street in New Haven.
Yep, I remember that.
Remember that? And Copps and Monahan would be in an office basically adjacent to the studio. So the owners would be right there and you could have conversations and relationships with them, which I really enjoyed. And the same thing happened at Country 92.5 in Waterbury. When I was there, the owner of the building was actually there. So I'd be doing my nighttime show, and before he left at night, he'd come in the studio and hang out with me and sit, and we'd be talking about music and stuff. That kind of stuff doesn't really happen much nowadays.
No.
But again, it's a whole different ballgame now.
And of course, I remember being down at KC 101 quite a bit, because KC 101 was on Quinnipiac Avenue in North Haven.
That's right. They moved because they switched to WKCI became that station in 1980. They were almost like 13 Waves, which was a powerhouse top 40 station in New Haven at the time, and they became KC 101 on FM. And they moved from Temple to Quinnipiac in that little bomb shelter in the back. They had some great talent there. Curtis Hanson was there. Danny Lyons, who's over at Weeby 108 right now.
Will he be good?
Will he be good? What a tremendous talent he was at nighttime. And the late Jim Abbott, who was a friend of mine. We worked at WNHU, the college station, together. He was there. But so many great people. I mean, Jerry Christopher was there, of course.
Absolutely.
Legendary morning man, and Dr. Chris Evans. So a lot of wonderful talent in that building. Floyd Wright was the afternoon guy.
Yeah, and he's up on WJMJ with Mike Stevens and Jerry Christopher.
Yeah, talking about a great lineup, huh?
Yeah.
Of talent, from Jerry right through Mike to and Steve Savino, who's a good friend of mine, is programming that station at the moment.
Yeah, he's on 10 to noon right after Jerry.
Right. Yeah, we worked together at YZ for a while. So it's a small world, this business. So that I learned a long time ago, and Ed was saying the same thing. Just be good to people. Be good to people because it's a small world, and just be nice to people. Don't be gossiping and saying negative things about people, because it's going to come back and bite you.
And what I remember about the old days in radio, I think every town almost had its own radio station. I remember 30, 40 years ago, WMMW out of Meriden,
Yeah.
CNX in Middletown. If I'm correct, I think the call letters in Southington were WNTY.
NTY, you had WADS WADS.
Yep, I remember WADS.
Yep.
Yeah.
WATR in Waterbury.
And Tom Shute is the program director there in Morning Man. And speaking of a legendary talent, he's terrific.
I had the opportunity to work with Tom Shute over at WMMW, about 45 years ago. He's a nice man.
He's a great singer too.
Is that right?
He's a great entertainer. He does a lot of theater. He's really a talented guy.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Very good. But the impact of like local radio now, like I think WMMW is still on the air, but I think it's all tape stuff. There's nothing really local.
A lot of simulcasting, Ed. Like you have a lot of talk radio stations. I think it's owned by John Fuller, John Fuller owns the Whale 102.9, which is doing very, very well in the Hartford market, a classic rock station. Okay. And he owns WDRC AM and a whole bunch of those stations you mentioned. It's all part of his umbrella. And they will just simulcast a bunch of shows on those AM radio stations.
Isn't PLR owned by him too?
No, PLR is owned by, I think, Connoisseur maybe. I think the same folks that own Star 99.
Oh, okay. I thought PLR was grouped with the Whale.
Yeah, but it was at one point. But PLR is still a mega station in New Haven. Due to Chaz and AJ, probably the top rated morning show in New Haven County. They are just they have a large legion of fans.
Now, where did the moniker John Cadillac Saville come from?
That was actually given to me by a morning show at YZ at the time, back in the early days. We first went country back in '88. And our first morning team was Ed and Dean. Ed Fairbanks and Dean Graham, who some people may remember, some may not. But Dean passed away a few years ago, but they were a really good morning team. And Ed just kind of like off the cuff said, yeah, the Cadillac. John Saville because of the Cadillac Saville. And the name caught on. And that's how the name came on. Before that point, I was known as Big John Saville when I worked at the stations back in the 80s, and I never liked that name. And then I just basically went to John Cadillac Saville. And that began, I think, back in the late 80s, thanks to Ed and Dean.
Nice.
Yeah.
And they still refer to you as the Cadillac Man, don't you?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
still see
and I
that,
use
so.
that, and I use that moniker on Country 92.5 and also the River 105.9, which is where I do a lot of work now, which is like a classic rock station geared toward females. And then I also work at Kiss 95.7, doing Sunday nights and fill-ins over there, which is a top 40 station. You know, similar to KC 101, very, very powerful station in Hartford. So I feel blessed to be able to work at multiple stations. Back in the early days, Ed and Tom, you couldn't work at competitors. That was like, you don't do that. But since iHeart owns these stations, I can just basically go from one station to another, and it's all part of the iHeart umbrella and brand.
Are they all located in the same facility, John?
Yeah, they're up on 10 Columbus Boulevard in Hartford. So you have, YZ, you have KISS, you have the River, you have ESPN Radio. We're all in the same building up in Hartford. And we also iHeart owns KC 101, WAVZ, and WELI, which are in Radio Towers Park in Hamden. So
Spent many days over there. My brother Kevin used to play for their softball team.
yeah, they have the softball field right there on the side of the building. That's where KC 101 is now.
A funny story about that, John, is I remember being over there at a softball game. My brother Kevin was the printer at the time for WELI.
Right.
And I remember him going inside for a minute before the game, and he came out. That was the day it came over the wire about Thurman Munson.
Oh, the great Thurman Munson.
And I was like, I'm not a Yankee fan, but I was devastated too when I heard it. I was like, oh my God.
Well, he's a human being. I mean, you may not be a fan of the team, but there's probably players on other teams. You may not like that team, but you would take that player in a heartburst.
Oh, absolutely.
On your team.
And I remember that myself, because I think it was August of 1979.
Yep.
Early August. It was, and he was taking, as the story goes, he was taking flying lessons so he could be with his family, because I think he was from Ohio. So he'd fly from New York to Ohio, and then unfortunately that accident. Yeah, that was a sad day.
Yep, and it reminds me of Roberto Clemente. What happened with you. One of those life situations. But there's always those situations, and I remember being in radio with so many of those situations. Like I think my first day in radio professionally back in 80 or something, I can't remember, was when John Lennon had passed. And I was doing the morning show at 12:20 a.m. at the time when WPLR owned it. And it was called PLR2 at the time, and it was like a very progressive station on AM. It was an experiment which didn't really succeed all that well. But I was doing the morning show, and I remember being on, it was a daytimer. So I opened up the station, and I closed it because nobody can get up the hill due to the snowstorm. So I was at the station the entire time from start to finish, and all we did was play John Lennon and Beatles songs all day long in honor of John's passing.
Oh, wow.
But I remember hearing the news the night before when Howard Cosell mentioned it.
During the football game, yeah.
Exactly. That's where I heard about it, too. And I think the clip is on YouTube, too, of Howard Cosell.
Because John Lennon used to visit, he used to stop in the booth during those Monday night games when they were in New York, and he would stop in on occasion to be a guest in the booth, with Howard and that team.
Yep, I do remember that. Howard, Gifford, and Don Meredith.
And Don Meredith, Dandy Don.
Yeah, Dandy Don, yeah.
Right.
Good. Ed, you got a question for John, Ed?
I do. Actually, I wanted to touch on, we were talking before he went on the air about some of the radio legends in Connecticut. We mentioned Bob Steele, Ron Romer. I think, John, you should be on that list.
Thank you. You're too kind.
Brad Davis, Dick Robinson, Dick Galliette, Arnold Dean.
Dick Galliette from Channel 8 Sports. Wow, I haven't heard that name in forever.
Yeah.
Al Terzi.
Yeah. Yes, Al Terzi. But in your opinion, more on the radio side of it, what made people like Steele and Romer and Davis, what made them legends in your opinion?
They were real. There was nothing phony about them. What you heard was who that person was. They were very transparent. I remember Bob Steele listening to a clip with the great Bob Steele in Hartford one time, back when they picked their own songs for the morning show when he played a song, right? And he played the song by Joe Jackson called Breaking Us in Two. And he played it, and halfway through the song, he picked up the needle off the turntable and said, with all due respect, Mr. Jackson, I don't like this song. I mean, that would never happen nowadays.
No.
But
Can you imagine?
It was authenticity. He was being real, and he didn't have a filter. And the same thing with Ron Romer and people like that. And Al Warren, Big Al Warren from Bridgeport on WICC, was a dear friend of mine. He was a legend in the Bridgeport market, much like Romer and Bob Steele were. Yeah. And they were just real, and people felt when they were listening to him, they were a friend, and they were just going to be honest no matter what. They may not always agree with them, but they knew they can count on them for honesty and just being a real person.
Absolutely. And the funny thing is Ron Romer was a staple in my house for many years. I can remember Mom and Dad would have the radio on every morning in the kitchen listening to the WELI. I'd be in my bedroom, I'd have KC 101 on. Mm-hmm. But it was funny, because, Mac McCarthy would do the traffic reports from the Knights of Columbus building.
Wow. Yeah.
Or AAA. And every time we had a birthday in the house, because my dad worked at Supreme Council in New Haven for 37 years, and my father would give Mac the birthdays. So every time there was a Daisy birthday in the household, you'd hear Mac McCarthy say to Ron Romer, "Oh, we got another Daisy birthday in the house."
There's Daisies everywhere.
They'd rattle down all the names, Oh God, there's another one.
Yeah, they're multiplying like rabbits. There's Daisies everywhere.
And you had the opportunity to finally meet them all a few weeks back.
Yeah. Wow.
And my brother Joe's
I wanted to ask John, if I may, this in the year 2020, is radio still as powerful a medium as it once was with podcasts and internet broadcasts? Is that taking a bite out of the AM and FM radio audience?
Well, that's a great question, because people think with the advent of with Spotify and Pandora and Sirius XM, has it hurt radio's reach, traditional radio? And quite frankly, it's done just the opposite. I mean, iHeartRadio reaches 93% of everyone in the USA listens to an iHeartRadio station at some point during the course of a week. Because, and I'm a big fan, I like Sirius XM. I admit that. I'm transparent. I love the deep playlist and the no commercials. I mean, just being totally, again, transparent. But at the same time, since I work in commercial radio, I also love that as well, because you're getting your local personalities, your local weather, local sports, local news, local contesting, and people want that spirit of community. Human beings are a communal creature. Even more nowadays with what happened since March with the pandemic, where people feel isolated. They want to be more in touch with their personalities that present a comfort level for them. And that's why during this pandemic, people have been going back to old movies, old songs, the familiar, when things seemed to be happier and better and we didn't have all these challenges that we have now with all the divisiveness and the election cycle and all that. People are looking for familiar. So that's why I think, when they have a favorite radio personality or station, they're more drawn to us now in 2020 than ever. They know when they tune in what they're going to get. And they want that friendly, familiar voice who's a member of their family. So I think commercial radio is more vital now than ever.
Good. That's good to know, because I was wondering. I have, my son is 35, and he is a regular listener to Joe Rogan's podcast, because he has like the 2 and 3 hour interviews. And I was saying interviews like that, with just the time constraints itself, he'll get somebody on and he'll do an interview that. It'll go as long as they need for it to go. And I was just wondering, based on my son Drew, geez, I wonder if he's listening to AM or FM anymore. But I'm happy to see it that's not the case.
Well, podcasting is a big deal now. I'm a big fan of podcasting, and iHeartRadio has more podcast. I think it's the largest podcasting company in the world right now. So we have a lot of podcasting, and also digital is a major part of what we do now, because people are listening a lot more online. Even to radio. Now our audience has reached even to Country 92.5 if we're on, or The River or KISS. It's not just our local audience now, but we have audience all over the world who can go to the free iHeartRadio app and just put it on their phone or their computer and listen to us anywhere in the world. It's pretty, or just say, Alexa, play Country 92.5, or Google, play The River 105.9 or whatever. And you can hear us now anywhere in the world, your local radio station.
That's
pretty neat.
That is nice.
My Alexa all the time.
Yeah, it's. I mean, people have mixed feelings about Alexa and Google going into how much information are they gathering on you in your home, all that. But that's a different story. That's something meant for a podcast discussion. Yeah.
Now, John, you are a graduate of Southern Connecticut State College, and you reside
That
in
shows you
Guilford.
how old I am. It's not, back then it was Southern Connecticut State College.
Go
and,
Owls.
and you
Yeah.
reside in Guilford.
Yes, I do.
And as a young man, you became involved in school and your community, and you had a singing group.
Yes, we did. Smooth Sailing.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Smooth Sailing ran into rough waters. It's ironic to say that because the woman who was the lead singer with me in that band at the time, back in the mid-'70s, we were hosting a duck race to raise money for charity at the Stony Creek Brewery in Brantford this past Sunday. And so I heard this name, hey, John, and I hadn't seen her probably in 25, 30 years. And she was there with her husband, Jay, and she reached up, and her name is Carol Lee Brockman. And I introduced her to Patty, and we sang in that group together. And I have not heard the name or the group since then. And then you bring it up right now, and that's twice within like a 72-hour period. It's amazing. But we had a blast with that. We did a lot of acoustic music. We did some show tunes. We did some soft pop and country. And we were actually on Good Morning Connecticut on Channel 8 at the time and performed a couple songs on there over the holidays.
Oh,
so
wow.
Nice.
Yeah, so we were written up in some papers and got a little bit of local press, but it was a pretty, big deal locally for the town for a year or two before, we all moved on.
And you were also an All-American athlete. How did you find time for all this during your high school career?
I loved high school. High school and college are two of my favorite times of my life. I absolutely loved them. I loved getting to know my entire class. But yeah, I was the captain of the football team, Guilford's first all-state football player back at the time. Won my division in wrestling, was in track, played a little bit of basketball at the same time. Baseball, of course, I loved. I really should have pursued that because I was actually scouted by the Red Sox to be a pitcher by a guy named Bill Landis, who came up and actually wanted me to pitch, but I never pursued it because I knew, again, I was tunnel focused on radio. But my dad was really kind of upset because he lived vicariously through me and was hoping I would really go into professional sports. But I have no regrets about that at all. But I love to go out there and perform at a high level no matter what I do, and just go out there and just get involved. And after my junior year, I kind of left sports a little bit and became more involved in other aspects of high school. Got involved with choir, madrigals. I did a lot of theater. I got lead roles. I earned lead roles in many, many plays in high school and college, and also later on in community theater. So I really wanted to kind of expand my horizons rather than just being pigeonholed as a jock. I wanted to really kind of find out and just deal with different genres and different backgrounds of people. And I think that served me well in my career because I can pretty much get along with anybody from any kind of a background.
That's fair. It's nice to be diverse like that. That's very good. What position did you play in football? Just out of curiosity, John.
Well, I played back then. It was offensive tackle and defensive tackle, but we were playing 60 minutes at that time. That's unheard of nowadays.
Yeah.
We played every single play. We played special teams. Kickoff, return, defense, offense. You had no rest, so you had to be really conditioned.
Well, if you're thinking of making a comeback, John, my favorite team is the New York Jets, and we need all the help we can get this year.
They're a lost cause.
So if you want to make a comeback, please help it. Jet fan.
Don't feel bad. My favorite team is the Dallas Cowboys, and they're having a very challenging time. We just lost our quarterback. Their defense is probably the worst in the NFL right now. But hey, listen, every team goes through cycles.
We should bring back Dandy Don and Joe Namath.
The great Joe Namath. I love Joe Namath. Yeah.
I had a question, John, if I may. And it's something you touched on before when you mentioned you had a nice workout this morning. I know that you're also a bodybuilder, having won several bodybuilding awards in the New England bodybuilding champions. How important is just keeping in shape for you with your very, very busy schedule? To talk a little bit about that.
Well, I think, obviously you want to take care of the vessel. You're only as good as you take care of your body. So I think that's the greatest investment is your body, nutrition, what you put into it. My wife and I are big advocates of plant-based supplements. We're regional directors of a health and wellness company, which has done very, very well, and we help people on their journeys. But we also have to lead by example. But at the same time, it's always meant a lot to me to go out there and keep yourself in the best shape possible, because it's going to help you do what you do better. It's going to help make you a better husband, a better father. You're going to be more valuable in the workplace, and you're going to have a lot more longevity. So to me, that was instilled to me at a young age, and it's transferred into my adulthood. And now that we're a little bit older now, you want quality of life too. That's the whole point. It's about quality of life. And there are a lot of things Patty and I want to do, while we're still healthy and still have that exuberance to get out there and travel the world and do things. But again, if we're going to be coaching people, we need to lead by example at the same time. So to set aside 45 minutes a day for a workout, we treat it like a business appointment. It's non-negotiable. So when I do my list every morning, there's an A, B, C list, things that have to be done, things that can wait a day, and things that can wait till the end of the week. The workout is always on that A list. It's non-negotiable. 5-6 days a week, have to get to the gym.
And I can, if I may, Tommy, I can sort of identify with that myself, because I did marathons for over 20 years, and I'm not as fast as I used to be, but I still, I took a run this morning. I did it was about 45 minutes. I went out and banged out some miles. But what I found, and I wanted to ask you about it, is that running helps me more mentally than physically, I think, because it keeps me mellow and kind of, keeps me on a level field, if you know what I mean.
He's actually got his medals behind him, John, on the wall.
Oh, I see. Yeah. That's 40 years of running right there. So.
But what he doesn't tell you is his wife Maureen tells him to keep running. Don't stop. Keep going. Keep going.
He's been telling me that for years. So.
Yeah. Especially when she's upset chasing him with the curling iron. You gotta be really careful with that.
I run my personal best whenever she chases me like that.
Yeah, I'm sure. But it's so true, Ed. It just gives you that great feeling, the dopamine, the serotonin, the endorphins in your body, those good feeling natural-based chemicals that just make us feel better. And I know that I can handle challenges a whole lot better after my workout.
Yes.
Right? Because you go there and you just let loose. And I love the social aspect of it too, because I'm a social butterfly. I love to go to the gym and do what I can. Even with the mask and everything else, I'm still talking to people, having fun in between sets. And by the time I get in my car, when I'm done, I feel good. I go get my cup of coffee. I'm socializing with people in the coffee shop. Then I come home and I have a whole new perspective on that challenge, and I can deal with things. And then when I go up to the radio station later, I feel good, and I think it just transferred into me becoming a better version of myself.
Yeah.
Speaking of the mask, I was going to ask you, with the pandemic, how did you cope with the pandemic? I mean, not being able to go out and do your gigs.
Yeah, it was a challenging time for the DJ business, because we basically came to a standstill, from March all the way through, August. Things started opening up a little bit in August. Matter of fact, I DJ'd your brother's wedding, I think, and was that late August?
Yeah, the end of August. Yep, August 30th.
And I've done 8 or 9 weddings in the past 3 or 4 weeks, and things are opening up. We did our first indoor wedding in Farmington last Thursday night, and did an indoor-outdoor wedding on Saturday. So people are just jonesing to get out there and dance, because they feel like they've been in prison for 6-7 months. They can't wait to get out there and have some fun. So the minute I play that first dance song, they're out there having a blast. But it was tough for that 6-7 months, because we had to move all those weddings to next year. And try not to double book things, and make sure dates were available, taking care of our existing customers. And that's my number one priority. But then again, when you're doing that, you're taking away new business, because you can't book a new business for those dates that are taken up, those prime dates. But by the grace of God, we've been able to navigate with very little problem. And then I have several DJs in my company too. So if I can't do something, my DJs can fill in. And the couples, they understand that. If they book me and they can't get me, it's nobody's fault. People have been very adult about this, realizing no one has ever experienced anything like this in our lifetimes. We just have to be compassionate understanding and realize we have to, just come up with a solution to all this together.
Definitely.
So it's a challenging time.
Definitely an unforgettable year this year, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to 2021 like a lot of folks, but we still have a lot of good time left. It's still, it's still only October. We have November, December, and we're optimists by nature anyway. We always see, to us, it's always 100% glass full, not 50, it's 100% glass full. I just really feel that we're going through a reboot right now. Maybe God or whoever you believe in feels like we needed a reboot. And I think we're going to come out stronger and better than ever.
Well, I did enjoy you and Patty's videos during the pandemic, and I know you added a new addition to your household during the pandemic.
Yes, we added a couple of kitty cats. We have we have Ed, who's not being seen right now because yesterday he knocked some olive oil over and it fell on him. So he had all that. We thought he got wet in the water because we have these cats that are hydro cats. They love to shower. So
sounds like a typical Ed move.
Right, exactly. But they want to go into the showers with us. It's crazy, cats, right? So we thought he got water on him, but it was actually olive oil. So we had to give him a bath last night. But these cats are amazing. We love them. They're kitty cats. They get into everything. One minute you want to and the next minute you just want to cuddle them. They're just amazing additions. And they're the two sons that we always wanted.
Now, John, you've had a number of accomplishments in radio, and the one that you are most proud of is being named one of the nation's top radio personalities and music directors by Billboard magazine several times. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that was a real honor because that's something that you earn. You're voted on by your peers in the industry. And that was back in the 90s when I was programming Country 92.5 at the time. And I was nominated by my peers as Radio Personality of the Year and Music Director of the Year. I didn't win any of those times, but I was in the top 5 nationally, and also in a couple other trade magazines, Radio and Records, and Cashbox, I think, was one of them. So just to be, just to be thought of was pretty cool. And I've got the plaques downstairs in the trophy room downstairs, and you kind of go look at them every now and then, and you're like, wow, that was pretty cool. But then you just move on. You take the awards, you're happy for them, and then you move on to the next phase of your life. You don't live in the past.
Well deserved, my friend. Let me just tell you that.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, that is good. I wanted to ask, getting back to your radio work.
Sure.
How much preparation do you need to do before beginning, an average day on the air? Some people think, you just sit in front of a mic and then just
Yeah.
You're off and running. But tell us a little bit about preparation for an average radio shift.
Well, to me, life is show prep. Every single day is show prep. I'm always aware. You always want to be aware of what's going on in the world today. But what I do with my show, and it's always been, my philosophy, is when people tune into me, I want them to hear nothing but positive. I'm not going to be slamming anybody. I'm not going to be talking negative about the Kardashians or whomever. That's not my style. Let other people do that if they choose. But I want to be focusing on talking about, to me, what matters the most. And that's just, the music. The main reason I got involved in radio was not to be a radio star, but because of my love for music, and I wanted to share that with the audience. So when I come on the radio, and especially on the River 105.9, which is a 70s, 80s, 90s format, it's a nostalgic format. So when people hear me talk about the music, my goal each and every time is to make those songs that they've heard hundreds of times over and over again. How do I make that song sound new to an audience that's heard those songs before, but also a brand new audience coming in that's being turned on the classic rock? And so I do that, and I just dig deep into Wikipedia, and I just do research all the time on the music I'm playing. So if I'm playing Sweet Home Alabama by Skinner, something we played a million times, how do I make that song sound new? What kind of a fact can I throw in? Or I'm playing Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child of Mine, or Bryan Adams, Summer of '69, or Def Leppard, Pour Some Sugar on Me. How do I make that song sound relevant in 2020 still? And people go, oh, wow, I didn't realize that. So when people hear me on the radio, they hear somebody who's like one of them, who just really hears the song, puts on the mic, and comes up with, man, what a great song. And I tell them why I feel it's a great song. And then I move on to the next element. And with country is a very current-based format. It's mainly current based. So most of the stuff we play is current over the past couple of years, except for the throwback weekends we do.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how do I make that song sound really fresh and talk about what that artist is doing nowadays? How they're getting through the pandemic. Do they butter their popcorn? What do they listen to in their free time? What is their favorite show on Netflix? It humanizes them. So, I mean, I'm always talking about that. And then when I'm on Kiss 95.7, I'm gearing to a much younger audience, teens. And what do I gear? My approach is a little bit different with that kind of a show as well. So you have to know your audience. You have to be a chameleon and adapt to who that audience is. And I've been able to do that pretty much effortlessly all my life.
What you're saying, I'm reminded of a story of a concert I went to see once at Oakdale, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy.
Oh, they were so great. They swing stuff.
And they were playing, they weren't in the arena. They were in what used to be the arena, was the Dome, if you're familiar with Oakdale.
Right. Yeah, the bubble there.
Yeah. So, and they did Cab Calloway's Minnie the Moocher.
Oh, yeah.
And I saw like 12-year-old girls, 11-year-old girls and guys singing Minnie the Moocher. And I remember thinking to myself, God, I hope Cab Calloway knows this is going on. 60 years after the song was recorded, they're still loving it.
Well, I think about that when I play Glenn Miller's In the Mood.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, 1939, and I'll still play that song, and you get young people out there because young people today are into the throwback songs. And I find that out when I meet with my couples to DJ weddings. And I've done over 2,000 weddings that I personally DJ'd, not counting my guys. And when we sit down and talk about music they want played, especially over the past 3 or 4 years, it seems like a lot of young people are into the classics. They want to hear during dinner time. They want to hear Sinatra. They want to hear Dean Martin. They want to hear like the, the Rat Pack stuff mixed in with some of the soft rock and some of the light jazz. You know, they want to hear the classic stuff from the 60s. They love Build Me Up Buttercup and Sweet Caroline. They love that mixed in with the 70s disco and the 80s throwback and some of the hip hop stuff thrown in. So I think today's audience as a DJ now, me doing DJ gigs, it's gotten a whole lot easier to DJ events because now everybody seems to agree on all the music. The older people want to be hip, and they're very youth-based now. So people in their 50s, 60s, 70s want to hear Bruno Mars and the Black Eyed Peas. But also the kids, they want to hear Motown. They want to hear, Mustang Sally. They want to hear, like I mentioned before, Brown Eyed Girl. So those songs.
One of my karaoke favorites.
Right. So those it's been a lot easier to bring people together because people are less judgmental about music. It's just like, if it's good, it's good. Who cares whether it's 1969 or 2000 or 2020? If it's a good song.
I was going to say, I have a friend of mine who's, she's 14 years old. I know her from community theater in Wallingford, and she just absolutely loves Freddie Mercury now. Knows all the words to Bohemian Rhapsody. And I think it was the film that kind of gave them, but the kids are loving Queen now too.
Well, the power of that, and also the power of TikTok. You've been hearing about TikTok being a big deal now. And there was a guy doing a surfing routine, on TikTok recently, and he had Fleetwood Mac's song "Dreams" playing in the background. So the next day I woke up, I looked at iTunes on my computer, and "Dreams" was the #1 song in the country on iTunes. And there were like 5 Fleetwood Mac songs in the top 20. And now normally when that happens, unfortunately, it's because somebody passed away. All of a sudden their songs start selling again, like Van Halen, when Eddie Van Halen passed away.
Yeah.
All the Van Halen went to the top of the charts. So I think, what had happened? Did Stevie Nicks or somebody pass? No, it was because of the TikTok video. It hit millions of viewers, and people that never heard of Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, all these young kids, started going there and streaming them and buying digital downloads.
Interesting.
And all of a sudden Fleetwood Mac is relevant again. It's just amazing. It's taking away all that, like, this is old, this is it. It's either good or it's not. Whether it's 1978 or 2020, it doesn't make any difference. And I love that. As far as the DJ goes, it makes my job a whole lot easier.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have to share a funny story. I don't know if John remembers this, but the first time I met John, Frankie and I were going up to WDRC at the time to pick up some concert tickets I won.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I met John, because we were watching through the window.
Yeah.
And then I think might have been the same year or a few years later. Frankie and I took a ride up to Connecticut Children's Medical Center. You guys were doing the radiothon.
Yeah.
And I remember you were on with Marianne O'Hare.
That's right. Yes.
And you pulled Frankie and I over and you put us on the air with you.
Right. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember because we were joking around because I said I had my Red Sox hat on. I think Frankie had a Yankee hat on. And you were like, "You guys are friends? How do you get along? You're like oil and water over here."
Right. I know. You see a guy with a Yankee hat and a Red Sox back to back, right next to each other.
Yep.
You know, but that shows, friendship. Isn't it great when you can actually, be on different levels or disagree on favorite teams and still be friends?
Absolutely. My own roommate's a Yankee fan. I'm a Red Sox fan. Half the house is Yankee stuff. The other half is Red Sox.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's the thing I love about sports. You can disagree on teams, joke about it, move on, and it just seems like I don't want to get too deep into this subject because it's negative, and I want to keep this positive. But remember the days when you can actually disagree about politics and still be friends.
Yeah.
But nowadays, people are unfriending each other, and it's becoming kind of vicious. And again, 2 weeks away from that election, I just wish we could just disagree civilly and still be kind to people. But
Absolutely.
again, that's all I'm going to say about that because I want to keep this in a positive.
No, I agree.
Yep.
Yeah, and I agree too. I'm a Jets fan. My wife is a Patriots fan, and we come close to divorce in the fall. That's it.
Well, what did somebody say? Jets stand for just end the season.
That's what I say. Yep.
I get that every year.
Yep.
So.
Oh my God.
It's true, but
right. Yeah. Yep.
John, what do you like to do in your downtime?
All right, I got a kitty on my lap right now, the one who got spilled with olive oil over his head. We washed him, but he's still got olive oil in his head. My kitty. But we love to we miss going to the movies. Patty and I love going to the movie. We would go to the movies every single weekend, but we love going out to dinner with friends, and we've been doing that a lot more now that things are opening up a little bit now. So we enjoy going out to dinner. We enjoy reading. I enjoy, listening to all different genres of music and watching some of our favorite shows, whether it be on Netflix or Apple TV or something. The simple things. We just love the simple things. We love getting out and enjoying the weather, especially this time of year. It's our favorite season, fall. And it's amazing. The pandemic really taught us that as we were all secluded, how to get back to the basics and really find out.
I agree.
Thing that really, really make you happy.
Absolutely.
You mentioned the movies, John, and I have a Netflix account too, and I just discovered Cobra Kai, which is the follow-up to the Karate Kid.
Yes,
I'm hooked.
It's fantastic.
I'm only 4 episodes in, but I'm hooked.
Yep. And the thing is, I saw some previews of that, and somebody else told us about that too. We haven't, delved into it yet, but we're told that we need to.
And what it is for those that are not familiar with it, it's 40 years, I guess, after the Karate Kid, and what their lives are now. And
I'll have to check it out. I have Netflix.
It's very
also.
well done. It's very well done.
We've recently gotten into Schitt's Creek.
Oh, that is funny.
That is funny. We love it.
I love it.
And it's just so goofy and so well done. And anything that's going to make you laugh nowadays, we welcome it, especially when it's just good, clean fun.
One of my favorites on Netflix was The Ranch.
The Ranch?
Yeah.
We didn't like that.
Right. Yeah. I think I'm not sure if I've heard of it, but we haven't checked that one.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that myself.
No,
I've heard of it.
Good. I watched it. But
What I did see, and just one more for me on Netflix, because I was such a fan of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Oh, me too.
There's
one
a
of my
prequel.
favorites.
There was a prequel, Ratchet, that's out on Netflix now.
Oh yeah,
Really
Nurse
good.
Ratched.
Yeah, and it's disturbing.
Is it really?
Yeah, I was glad I saw it, and I guess I would recommend it because it's well done, but it is disturbing.
I saw
But what-
that pop up the other day when I was on Netflix. I didn't get a chance to check it out yet.
Now, is that a movie?
It's a series. It's a
It's
series.
a series about Nurse Ratched. Okay.
8-episode series. Yeah.
Okay. May have to seek that out.
I'll have to check it out myself because One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, that's one of my favorites too. I just bought the DVD on Amazon.
Yeah, well, I love that too. I mean, when I think about Jack Nicholson, I think about that one, and of course, here's Johnny.
The Shining. Yes.
Shining. Boy, that was, speaking of disturbing, that was crazy.
Yes.
That was a little disturbing. Yeah.
John, I have one question for you. If you had the opportunity to share the microphone or interview anyone, past or present, who would that be?
Oh boy, that's tough. I mean, Elvis comes to mind right away. He was a major influence on my life. I think Elvis is responsible for me loving all kinds of music because he essentially taught me not to be a musical snob. He was the most versatile recording artist of all time, in my opinion. There wasn't a genre of music he didn't do. So when I was growing up and I listened to Elvis, I heard show tunes, country, folk, rock and roll, jazz. I mean, he's the only artist in 4 different music Hall of Fames. That shows you how wide his appeal is. So Elvis would definitely be there. I just had tremendous admiration and still doing respect for Elvis. So he would definitely be there. But others, I mean, Abraham Lincoln, because he was, governing a divided state where he had to call out soldiers to kill fellow Americans. And that must have been just incredible to have to deal with that. And of course, being very spiritual the way I am, Jesus, I mean, and it sounds kind of cliche to say that, but I really believe that the more I delve into the Bible and think about him, something like that. But from a natural standpoint, it would probably be Elvis.
Of course, Elvis is also, I love Elvis's music. I still listen to it today.
Yeah, I mean, his music is timeless, and he was such a good man. I mean, he gave so much. He was one of the most benevolent people who ever walked this planet. He'd give you the shirt off his back. I mean, he bought houses for people, and he brought a whole genre of music into the American mainstream. And he had so much respect for artists of different cultures. He had so much respect for the Black artists of the day and the artists of all different styles. And he would bring that music to the forefront and give them credit for it, which I really admire.
Yeah, I agree.
Quick, John, give a quick plug for your weekend show on Country 92.5.
Okay, you can listen to me every Saturday and Sunday afternoon on Country 92.5, Saturdays between 2 and 7, and Sundays between 3 and 7. I'm on the River 105.9 Sunday mornings, Kiss 95.7 Sunday nights. And all this week, I'm not sure when this is airing, this program, but all this week I'm filling in for Fish on the morning show on the River 105.9. So, I mean, I do a ton of fill-ins whenever they need me. I love to do it. It's still a blast to go up there. And eventually I'm going to get my home studio set up so I can do some things here. I've just been a little bit lazy getting that going because I love going up to the physical studio. But it's still a blast after, I'm celebrating 40 years, guys. 40 years.
Wow.
40 years. Yeah, I mean, 41 years. When you think about college, 1977, 78, so it's, 43 years. Jeez.
Speaking of which, Ed, I was just thinking this morning, this coming January, it will be 27 years for Talking with Tom.
Really?
Wow. 27 years for Talking with Tom Dacey, the mayor. Wow.
Gentlemen, we have to talk about retirement one of these days. Huh?
No, we have too much to give. We have to have too much fun to retire. No way.
True.
No way. As long as we can utilize our talents for the common good, let's go out there and do good. Like you said before, Ed, the whole key is just be good to people. And that's the bottom line.
And it is fun, what you say, John. It's still a blast doing this.
Oh, it is. I mean, there are people out there who would love to be doing what we're doing. Yeah. And I mean, I look at people who work really hard for a living, that, teachers out there and people who are firefighters, police officers, people that are working construction out, it's 150 degrees out there. And that's real work.
Yeah.
Yep.
I admire those people.
Yeah.
What we do is fun.
Yeah. I have no right to complain because
No, we don't. No.
Is there anything that we haven't touched on, John, that you'd like to add?
Well, I just appreciate this, Tom. We wake up every day feeling blessed to do what we do. My wife and I run a couple successful businesses out of our house, and to be able to do that together is a blessing. And to be able to help other people at the same time doing what we do is a blessing, and still being in radio. So everything we do is positive. It's enhancing people's lives. And that's a real gift.
Well, say hello to Patty for me.
She's in the background waving to you right now. Get ready to head to the office.
As I say, your better half.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Thanks, Tom.
Stock up.
And I hope to see both of you real soon once all this craziness is over.
Yep.
Say hi to Ed the cat for me.
On camera.
Oh, there we are.
There you are. You weren't on camera the whole time.
Oh,
How
yeah.
come?
I'm-
Oh, there you are.
There we are.
There you are.
Yeah, I was wondering why we had
Guys.
the picture up. I was going to ask why you put the picture up.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Technically challenged.
Yeah, technically challenged. Plus, we couldn't miss this background of all this unfurnished stuff in the background here. You know, it's been like that since 2008. All right. All right. But hey, Ed, it's been a real pleasure. God bless you and your family.
Thank
Same
you.
to you there, Mayor Tom. Blessings
Thank
to you
you,
and your
John.
family.
And
And thanks for all the good you both do.
same to you. And anytime you want to come back and join us, feel free.
Great. Oh, really? You're actually going to invite us back? That normally doesn't happen.
People ask me and Ed to leave, so
So we'll see you through the radio, guys, and take care.
take care. God bless, John.
All right,
God bless
bye,
you.
John.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You weren't on camera the